I just wrapped up 2 sessions of workshops. This is our color code workshop. I've never done a color workshop where I'm running it for free and also giving people the opportunity to just taste one part of color, which focuses on color planning. Now, on day 3, what I wanted our participants to work on was really putting the colors that they have auditioned and casted onto paper. Now, this is with the idea where I encourage our members and participants that they are the directors. You are the ones casting everyone, and I just want to go through a little bit about what to expect so that you know exactly what this session is going to be about. So right here, we have divided our paper basically into 6 squares, but that is because we have session 1 here and session 2 here. And what we have decided on is that we picked out our 3 colors and then we painted them depending on the different proportions. This means that what we are focusing on is proportions and not perfection. So you are not going to figure out what amount of mix is best for this particular composition, but you really get to decide. And I just wanted to talk about how when we have our colors just straight out of a palette without mixing and having all of them equally represented, it creates a lot of tension and a lot of chaos. It feels like everything is fighting for attention. On the other hand, when we get into different stages, so this is typically how our stage 1 artist would paint. Now, if we look into the other stages, our stage 2 and 3, where they have a little bit more awareness of mixing, and this is where we are creating in such a way where we have one dominant color and the other colors actually pop. Now, in terms of color selection for these two, now I just shifted some of the colors. So here I chose a permanent rose or a quinacridone coral, and over here I chose a vermilion. And with that, I also have shifted the types of blues that I chose. So here was a cobalt blue, and here was a phthalo blue, and I just kept consistent with my cobalt green. Now, when we come to stage 4 and 5, here is where we allow our mixes to really come together, because the thing about color is that we want to cast our colors where they have chemistry. They're going to react, they're going to respond, they're going to do drama, and that is how directing a show feels like. And this is also the level of storytelling your color compositions should have. Now, in this replay, I am excited to just show one session, and it's going to be a full session. So we are going to work through just color proportions. This replay is not going to stay on YouTube for long, so I want you to watch it, paint with me, and use that experience as a way for you to start building a relationship with your colors so that you begin to actually see the potential of how you can use what you already have instead of buying more. And I know many of us want to. Now, this workshop is really a prelude to an invitation to our 10-day color quest, which is happening in October inside of Brush Movement Collective. So I can't wait for you to watch the workshop. Put down if you've got any questions in the comments below or any insights. Please paint along with me so that this becomes an experience that you get to follow and do. If you notice any feelings of discomfort, remember that many of us, painting intentionally is a practice. Making decisions on your own and becoming the director of your paper also takes a little bit of practice. So I want you to stay kind to yourself and enjoy the process. So welcome to our day 3, session 2. I am just absolutely excited that you guys are here. And we are going to start off with a poll, just understanding within our space, what is your stage? So put down in the poll so I get to know what stage you are at. And if you have no idea what this is, well, we are using different stages to help us to map out where we are in our own journey. in our watercolor journey. So it goes beyond just beginner friendly, because in YouTube there is no season friendly. Like, I don't know. But they should have it because people are growing. These are the people who discovered watercolor during the pandemic. By now, you can't be beginner friendly still. So there is this huge group of people who are growing, but then they want to make art that is beyond the tutorials. And I think someone actually shared it in the Facebook group, and I love it because someone mentioned about how they can paint from a tutorial. It's great, we can follow it step by step, but then when it comes to creating it on their own, then they are like, I can't do it, it looks like a child's chicken scratchings, right? Speaking of chicken scratchings, my kids' chicken scratchings are the best. Like, I wish I could draw more like them. The Quentin Blake style, right? In Rodal. I'm like, it's so amazing. I have to show you a picture later of my daughter's happy birthday. I was like, oh my gosh, you got to teach a workshop. Like, it's so amazing. How do you do it? And she knew how to do the color dominance. I didn't even tell her that. She just like picked it. I'm like, amazing. So, so let me just start off by saying this. We have been groomed in our education system, regardless of where you were educated. We have been taught that we all need to follow a set of rules, or we need to have a specific outcome. And as a result, we have stopped making decisions for ourselves when it comes to art. And art is one of those things where you do need to make decisions for yourself, right? Choosing your colors, choosing your brush. And then the more we go into adulthood, the more we go into like, oh, there must be a right color, or there must be a right kind of paint, right? This is the perfect pink for mixing, and this is the perfect blue. What is your true red? I'm like looking at the threads on YouTube and people obsessing and arguing about colors. Like, friends, put paint to paper and test out what you have instead of like finding the true red. I mean, in the end, if we were to find the true red, how does it play with the other players in your palette? We have to think about that. And that's what we did in day one. In day one, we were basically taking the time to be the director. And this is where, again, I want to encourage you to be the director, where you get to make decisions. And decisions also means that you can cut your lead if it doesn't work out, right? And you can also recast somebody else. And you can also the villain into a bigger role, because sometimes the villains being the bigger role is quite fun too. Like suddenly having Cruella de Vil instead of 101 Dalmatians, right? So you can change things up, right? And I've seen storybooks where Three Little Pigs is of course, the main story. And then I found a book that said The Untold Story of the Wolf. And like, people love that. So take the time to go into the head of a director. And the next thing I want you to know is from last night's session, what everyone was focusing on was we got so caught up in our logical brain. And in the logical brain, it tells you proportions, it tells you rules. And then in the creative side of the brain, it tells you, oh, pick whatever color you want, filifala, let's go. And it doesn't really marry each other. So today, I want you to pay attention and acknowledge what the rules and stuff are, but I want you to look at what's in front of you and then make choices, because you are allowed to change things up. And the next thing is, instead of directing the whole story, start with one scene. And, instead of getting caught up in the, oh, is this 60, 40? Is this 30, 20, 10, or whichever, whatever proportions we're playing with, I want us to focus on the big picture. In the end, can you see one dominant color? If you can, you're doing great. Nobody's going to say, hey, that was like 5% off. Nobody is going to say that. Whoever who says that is not your friend. So So anyway, I hope that this has been helpful. I know I had to start with this, take 10 minutes to do this because when we get into our paints and our supplies, this is where we get really overwhelmed. So our replays and everything are all available in our portal. As you know, we've done day one and I've chosen the best and then I put it on. And what I want to do here is we're going to exercise our creativity muscles because creativity is a muscle that some of us have lost, and it's okay. We can get it back. They say that neuroscience says that brain rewiring is there, so it's hopeful. So let's do that. And I am going to get started. I'm going to share with you the colors that I'm going to be using. So get into your papers right now. I am just so super excited to do this. So, my friends, welcome to Showtime. And for the past 2 days, we have auditioned our cast, and we started our casting roles. So today we are directing our first real scene. So I want you to think of your palette again as a cast of actors, and you are the director. And this page is basically your stage. Now, this is the chicken scratchings that I was telling you. Isn't this amazing? I'm like, oh my gosh. When I saw it, I was like, are you sure Quentin Blake didn't come into my house? So I could be biased because it's my kid, but look at the dominant color that she had selected and then all the pops of color there. It's just so amazing. By the way, this is my 3.5 year old. So yeah, so they slide drawings underneath my door every time I do a live session. It's very fun. So we have day 3, session 1 here. And as you can see, well, things are already mapped out. So you kind of can get a sense of what to um, kind of see. But basically, the 3 colors that I have picked, for the first quadrant, so we're going to do stage by stage, just like how we usually do, right? And in the first quadrant, we're going to work like our stage 1 and 2 artists. This is also going to be an opportunity where it helps you to become a lot more intentional with how you use and choose your colors. Now, when we get to stage 2 and 3, we are going to get the colors to mix and mingle because they're not going to be solo on stage. These guys were solo on stage, right? We just picked the colors and we just used them as it was, and they're all 50-50. That means that they all had an equal part to play on the stage, all right? And then the last one here is that we really change things up by changing a dominant. So before, my dominant here was a little bit more of a blue, and my dominant here has shifted to my quinacridone coral. Okay, so this is where we are thinking about the mood that we are going to create. So now that you have got some context, I want you to get into your palette, and with the 3 colors that you have chosen from day 2, we are going to put them down here. And we're going to put them down 50-50. So basically, each color in its purest form, side by side, minimal mixing, because we're going to use this space almost like the first round of auditions because, the actor just steps forward, they just got their script, and basically, we are going to be just painting leaves. So that's going to be a little bit easier for everyone. And don't overthink it. And this is also the stage where we're like, oh, how much water should I have on my brush? How much paint should I have? And we are focusing on purely color proportions today here. So take the time to wet your paints. And again, one of the things I like to say, don't be afraid of picking up color. You can pick up as much color as you need. Okay, and I'm gonna go in with my round brush. Now, yesterday I chose a quinacridone coral, a mineral blue, and a cobalt green. And what I'm gonna do today is, for those of you who are in stage 1, I have a suggestion, stage 1 and 2, to reduce the overwhelm. choose colors that are closer to each other in your palette. This is going to reduce the overwhelm and also help you to see the harmony. Now, the thing about being too close is that it's going to be a bit harder for color mixing, right? So if that is the case, what I want you to do then is to choose colors that are skipping one another. All right? So if you've already casted your roles and you want to try experimenting and playing, go ahead. I am not going to play with mostly primaries because the reality is we want to know how to play with all our tubes and colors. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change things up. I'm going to choose a different set of color here. And I am just going to shift by one. So before I chose a quinacridone coral, which is a cool red, and I'm going to go into vermilion instead. So I'm going to pull out vermilion as my first color. And my next color, I'm going to choose a warm guy, my cobalt blue. So then it's going to change things a little. And I'm going to stick to one color that we were using before during the session. So then I change two colors and we keep one color the same. Okay? And then we're just going to see how the mood shifts just by changing a couple of colors. Okay. So we are just going to paint the colors as they are. And as I said, don't be worried about the exact proportions. We want them in its truest form right now. If you are adventurous, feel free to use water if you like. This also depends on how you feel, your mood, because you are the director. So let's just start here first. Slowly curve your brush movements to form your leaf shapes, okay? I'm using a round brush, but some of you might want to use, say, flat brush or a brush that is maybe, I don't know, cat's tongue, whichever, filbert. Lots of fun brushes now. Brush is another realm on its own, right? So what we're doing is that we are just taking a look at how they all look like if we gave them an equal role to play on the stage. Now, I want to talk about something that tends to come up a lot. And in day one, we were focusing on auditioning our colors. And some people want to skip over day one because they think that swatching is too basic. Like, oh man, what can I learn from swatching? But as a director, imagine that you are skipping auditions and then you're just going straight into the plot. This is going to be pretty hard, isn't it? For you to know who is in your cast, know how they work with each other, what's the dynamic like? Are they drama? Are they mellow? Maybe they are very quiet, right? And while you're doing this, don't forget to hold your brush lightly and breathe.
You can try one, but I threw the first one away. There's two left, but I don't think they're good. Bananas are good.
Now, being a director also allows you to step into a space where you are making choices and decisions. So being a self-taught watercolor artist for me, like I have not really been a rule follower. I'm a explorer. I like to try out new things, shake things up a little bit. So we're gonna give them all equal roles and then take a moment to see how we feel about it. So if you feel adventurous and you want to go for 4 colors, go ahead. But I want to remind you that the more actors you have, the more you have to manage. That's politics amongst your colors. And sometimes the politics can come in like, you know, unexpected stuff happening, right? Granulation or like changes when it dries. And all of this is related to properties of color, which our stage 4 artists would be aware of. But in our audience today, we have like a mix of different artists. So think about your stage and where you are, and be really mindful that, yes, some of it might feel overwhelming, but I want our stage 1 and 2 artists to also start to see this is the possibilities. This is where we are headed. And if at any point you feel or find yourself asking, am I doing this right? We can reframe it into, I am now stepping into my scientist role and I am figuring out how this feels. Whenever you ask, am I doing this right? Most likely you are kind of doubting yourself a little in terms of like your choices, not sure if your paints are supposed to move specific ways, things like that, right? So here I have my quadrant where I have more or less pulled out my colors in equal formats. Like I said, doesn't have to be mathematically accurate. We just want to see big picture and how it feels. And yes, if you feel like, okay, it meets what we are trying to do today, that's great. But I have to tell you how uncomfortable this feels for me in terms of painting this way, because I don't often pull out my paints purely from the palette to paint like this. And I wonder how you guys are feeling because for me, I'm so used to mixing my colors a little, you know, just adding in a little bit of the neighbor color in my palette or muting down the color a little. And I might not um, put down the color in its purest form. So this is new for me. Okay. Now, as you are working through this, and I'm giving you guys some time to continue, I want you to pay attention to this and see how this feels like for you, where we have got all of our leaves basically having the same amount of showtime space on the stage and how they tend to kind of be shouting all at the same time. They also have the same size. So I've done that deliberately so that everything looks like it's coming out at you at the same time, right? And this also is where it feels like there is no harmony. And in day 1, we talked about how harmony is about the colors sitting next to each other. But how do we inject in harmony then inside the rest of our paintings? This is where the color mixing comes in, because we know that colors on its own doesn't just work this way. We want to have them in a relationship and in a context. So in the next two, we're going to have them in a relationship. Okay? So we are going to move from, just looking at them on their own into basically seeing the chemistry. Do these colors complement? Do they fight for spotlight? And, even as you have a story in mind and you cast your actor, sometimes the actor might not be suitable and it's okay to fire him and get another one, right? And so don't feel like, oh my gosh, Jillian, I picked like this and I'm just gonna commit to this now because, this is what it is. But if it feels really hard, try changing up the proportion, just small little tweaks, okay? Because the thing is, when we are in stage 2 or 3, this is where that unpredictability of mixing, where we want to see the chemistry, makes it tricky. And as a result, artists end up getting more paints just to compensate for that. They're like, oh, this didn't look harmonious. Maybe I should get more colors to make it harmonious. And as a result, you end up being the director with 200 actors. But we don't need 200 actors in your show unless you're doing Charlie and the Chocolate Factory and you need lots of Oompa Loompas. But even then, they're all the same. They're not different either, right? And so you just need the right feel and cast the right role. So let's now look into color dominance. Okay, so we are going to start choosing of these guys. Who are we going to have as our players that we want to cast as our main? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to share with you my process and how that looks like. Because in this quadrant, what I want to play with is we are going to do 80, 10, 10. So that means your dominant color is going to take up 80% of the space. And the rest of colors, the supporting and the accent, is just going to take up 10, 10. Okay? So Maureen says, as a stage 2, this is comfortable because I feel accomplished. Yes. And like sometimes we just go beyond our stage. And to be honest, the YouTube tutorials are savage. I don't know how people learn from YouTube tutorials anymore. I did not have that many tutorials when I started out. But now it's like I'm just bamboozled. That's fascinating also because I see like, different ways of doing things and it's really, really fun, but it's overwhelming. And I think it also makes us doubt ourselves because we are like, oh, I can't do this. I should be able to do it. I have the supplies, right? Um, but what we need practice in is actually decision making. Okay, so I am going to show you how we're going to just pull out one color as our dominant. So I am going to, the last time over here, the dominant color I had chosen was actually cobalt green. And with cobalt green, I used that person to mix with the supporting and the accent. And I didn't let my other two mix with each other. So we only had one that was basically influencing the others instead of having to mix everything. So then it feels really overwhelming. So you get to choose in that sense. Because we do know that when colors mix, they change depending on the proportion. This is 50-50, right? But then like here is like, I don't know, 10, 20, 30, 40. And then it depends on how much of the blue that you have to get your blue-green. And if you got more yellow, and then you got more of a yellow-green, right? So the proportion of colors is what also helps you to get the color that you want. I encourage you to stick to that proportion if you have chosen that mix. It doesn't have to be exact again because we're not botanical artists, but around that region. So if you have been doing a leaf that has been mostly with more yellow and less blue, then stick to it. Okay. And if let's say there is some deviation, don't be hard on yourself. That's the magic of watercolor. Okay. So I'm going to just show you how we're going to choose our dominant. And this time, instead of cobalt, I'm going to choose our cobalt blue instead. This is cobalt green that I have. I'm going to choose my cobalt blue instead. And using my swatch, I'm just going to share with you how we're going to see cobalt blue mixed together with the rest of the players. Okay? So because cobalt blue is my main, we're going to mix them together a little. Okay? Don't worry about adding in water yet. We want to see it in its color form, not in its light value, because light value is really easy for us to just add water later, but we're just going to see it in its colored form. The fun thing is that you get this muted shade, right? Now I'm going to add in my cobalt green here, and I'm going to add that here. And you can see that because cobalt green and blue are closer to each other, they are a lot more harmonious. And because they are closer together and they're more harmonious, the blends are a lot smoother. Let's allow these two guys to take up more space. And you can see that the main bridge throughout the three colors is really cobalt blue. It is running through all of the colors. Okay? And I love how it created this muted shade here for my vermilion. All right? Now you can do it the other way also, where we take a different color like vermilion and make it your main color. And we'll mix it with my cobalt a little. Then we go into my blue and we mix it in here just to see what kind of drama you're going to create or contrast. So based on this small study, you can see the difference in if we were to choose specific leads. Say we chose the one that is the most conflicting, you get some really nice duller colors. And these you can use more as your accent, right? So right now I'm just using one color to mix with my two other chosen shades so far. How are we guys doing here right now? Rate your level of discomfort from 0 to 5. 5 being extremely uncomfortable and 0 being super comfortable. Of course, there are gray areas, so, right, good. Be really, really honest. I love it. So I'm walking with you through this, and you being able to do this in a group also shows you are not alone. If you're uncomfortable, that's good. It also means that we're on new territory. And again, there is no right main star to choose. We won't know until we cast the scene. Okay? So what we're going to do is we're now going to paint that 80-10-10. And I'm going to choose this mix because what I like about this mix is that, here is a lot more harmonious and it's kind of nice to have that pop, which is what I wanted, the 80-10-10. Okay, so I'm going to choose this one and we're going to go with it. I'm going to just put it on the side so we have a little reference right there. And I'm going to start with my main, which I wanted to be cobalt blue. So can you imagine? I just moved one down basically from the wheel, and it just changed the mixes that you see here versus here right now. So when you are here in your Stage 3, what's happening is you are basically seeing your paints in a new way because you've now chosen your lead and you're kind of figuring out how much stage time do they get. Because we know that a scene is going to fall flat if everyone speaks at the same time. And having varied proportion creates a level of tension in your painting that makes it, visually appealing. People love tension. They love drama. So we've been talking about Tom Cruise, right? And then imagine if Nicole Kidman came into the movie. Everyone's gonna watch that show. And it was so funny because last night someone said, and then Keith Urban comes in too, and it's just totally bananas. So as you use your colors, instead of using it in its purest form, start adding a couple of mixes. You can also allow the mixes to happen on the paper instead. And this is also an opportunity for you to use the space where you have a couple of leaves that are big and some that are small. I want to remind you that the session is not about techniques. The session is fully focusing on color exploration. Okay? So I want to comment on your bravery today, friends, for taking the step to do hard things because we don't do this often. We don't really step into the space where we're like, okay, I'm gonna try doing color swatching today. And it's really easy for us to just get caught up in like, okay, let's just find the next tutorial and move on. Because today I just cannot, today is not the day where I can do color mixing. Today is just I just wanna paint something pretty. And yes, I have days like that too. And then we end up again not knowing our colors. We're not playing with what we have. And the danger really is that we lose sight of the story that we want in our painting because colors is part of composition, much bigger role in composition than just putting elements together. Don't worry about the proportion. See everything in a big picture. If you have your main star taking up most of the space, then you know you're on the right track. I think it's really nice sometimes to let your main star just have a couple of scenes where it's just them and they are really, really nice and bright because that contrast really creates, again, some tension where you are able to really focus on just the main star. Okay? Being the director also means that you get to choose how you use the space on your paper. If you want to fill it up, fill it up. It's okay. If you want to have spaces, then have spaces. So I'm like noticing how my combination has created mud basically. My blue and my orange. They create a really nice dialed down blue also, you know, because when you've got your actor and your co-star together, they will have a different chemistry. They're going to appear different. So at this stage, I'm still focusing on my main star. And in terms of your accent, you don't have to mix the colors. You can also pull it out as its purest form. Now, some of us might be just feeling fatigued from making decisions, maybe because today is the first time that you are noticing that you have to juggle a lot of things in your head, not just color, but maybe things around like how you're holding your brush, where you want to put the marks, what kind of leaf shapes you want, things like that. And I want to encourage you that you are doing well and that we're just going to focus on one thing. Let's just simplify it, really. Just focusing on your main color and then that main color influencing everyone else. Okay? Right. Now I'm going to call brush down and I want to check in on how you guys are doing. Put down in the chat how this feels so far. Write down one word that you would describe with your experience and be honest with yourself and also with um, what you've discovered. Remember, take a step back, zoom out, look at the big picture. That as long as you just had one color that is the main star, and then everything else is just speckled, and we're just shifting proportion. I love artists who are lost. I know I'm very strange. I'm not the kind of artist who likes it when my students go, great, I know how to do it now, because then that's not fun anymore. And also like I always feel like if you are not sure what's going on with your paper, then a couple of things are happening right now. It might not necessarily be your supplies or your paints, but it could be just we haven't gotten the hang of those particular colors. Because if we are going to be really fair here, I'm just gonna interrupt you with a poll just to see how often do you guys paint in limited color palette? So let's see what people are saying in terms of painting in limited palette. Painting under 3, under 6, under 9. The poll is up. So, and if you have never done it before, this is hard. It's basically saying I've never ridden a bike before, and now like I'm expected to go up the hill, right? And a huge percentage of us have not. And I think it's so brave that you guys are showing up today. And I think that's where, you know, as we are learning, it's going to feel wobbly. And there is always this gap in our learning between where we want to be and where we are, and finding a way to get over that bridge. And getting over that bridge is not about getting more supplies and more paints, but it's about getting to know what you have and actually painting, actually putting down color combinations to see how things work, right? And not being afraid of it because there is also fear. And sometimes we think like 3 seems really little. It's almost like me saying, okay, friends, go for your holiday, a 9-day holiday, and only pack 5 items. And you're like, what? days? How do you go on a holiday with just 5 items? And actually, packing paints for travel is also not easy to do because you can't bring all your colors and your whole studio, right? And I think that was where it really forced me to think about my limited palettes also. Christine says it's a capsule wardrobe. I love it. It's true. And that you just get tops and bottoms, right? You just mix and match them into like new outfits. So I want to acknowledge Annette. She says she hardly has time to paint at all, and she's here, so that's great. And Diane is also making the choice to change things up, where she wants to give herself permission to change the red that she has chosen, maybe shifting down the palette. Eileen is getting very messy, which is good, leaning into that mess. Vita finds it that it's less color and more fun. Shirley's learning and confused. And I think Annette feels the same way. So you guys are really doing it together, I think. So Leah says, I feel frustrated because I like how the shape of your leaves look, but mine looks so uniform. So yeah, so that's another thing. Sometimes we get into like wanting to be better, and everyone wants to be better. Um, and figuring out if it's the brush that I'm using, or is it or is it because I'm a stage 4 artist? You can give me a kid's brush and I will still give you leaves like this. But it's about like building that muscle memory and the technique over and over again. Yeah. So, all right. So now we're going into our final one here. And this is where we're gonna change the main star. And what I want to do is for this one, I want us to go into 60, 30, 10. So here we have got 80, 10, 10, right? And now we are giving our main Tom Cruise just 60% of airtime, 30% will be our supporting cast, and 10% is going to be our 10% is going to be our um you know our accent or our villain, whatever you like to call it. Now, in terms of our main star, I just want to map this out for you here again. I'm going to choose this fiery red to be my main star this time, basically using this. I love it because it's so bold and it's shouting. At the same time, I also know that when I pair it with cobalt here, they mute each other down. There is a neutral brown gray situation going on here. And if I add my blues to it, I also know that I get a muted muddy color, right? And across it, I know that the stream that flows is this beautiful vermilion color that I want. And I get to choose how often I want my vermilion to appear on its own, because when it's on its own, this is how bright it looks. But when it's mixed, it gets muted and muddied down. And I don't need it to be this muddy, but I can have it muted just a little bit. So then you get to make a choice. Yeah. Now let's play with things a little bit more, where we get both our accents, the cobalt blue and green, to get together, and you can see that they also create their own fun shade, right? So with this means that we are going to inject a little bit of mud into our mix this time, okay? So I am going to now pull out my leaf shapes, and I'm gonna take a different brush. So we get different shapes, okay? And I'm gonna pull out my blue, my red. And at this stage, what you are working with is that we are going to be blocking the scene because we are now in stage 4. So when you're in stage 4 and 5, you are kind of deciding, is this going to be a love story or a thriller, maybe a tragedy, um, or maybe you don't want specific colors to come together, or you feel like you love the contrast and the drama here, maybe, right? And you want to do more of this after you've done your mix. So this is where we are not working on perfection, we're working on proportion. We want to get to know how our players are going to do with their role. Maybe some of the artists need to do improvisation. So this here, I'm using a flat brush. And I'm going to start off my process with mixing 2 colors first, choosing 2 colors that I'm going to mix. And in this case, my vermilion and a little bit of my cobalt. much. So if it's too much, you can always go back and grab in more of your original color. And the space is such that you get to choose where you want things to be. And when you're in stage 4 and 5, you can also start to think about values, where there are some areas that you want to be just really light value, just to inject in some fun. And so far, I'm just working with 2 colors first. So read your paper and see where your paper is at right now. And we are just staging them because these actors, they know what their role is. They know that, okay, I'm going to be the main guy, I'm going to be the boss. And the best directors are the ones that leave room for surprise. So don't keep it perfect. Add in some fun angles. Use a new brush. Let the colors mix on the paper. The element of surprise is going to enable the viewer to stay on the show, so they're not going to get bored. So far, 2 colors. I'm going to pull out my main star, and I'm going to now add in the blue instead. And I'm noticing that the color for me changes, where it is now a little bit warmer, more rusty, and not being afraid of taking it in its purest form, also adding in a bit of drama. And the nice thing about the flat brush, I always find, is that my leaves don't look perfect. It looks a little bit like angular. I like angular leaves too. Now, if you change your mind about your proportion, that's fine too. You can go into 70, 20, 10 if you like. So that way, sometimes the director feels like, okay, these guys didn't really work together. I wasn't so sure about, you know, this actor taking up more room or space. And I think that's the magic of being able to cast and make your own choices. Exploring proportion and dominance is just changing the whole story. I mean, if you take a look at how it looks like with the first one that we did, we feel like it works, but it doesn't tell a story. It will make a really good pattern, the first one. So it depends on the how dynamic you want your paintings to look and feel. So this is really fun because I'm getting some very nice, like muted shades. Then my supporting color I want to choose is the blue. So my blue is going to be a little bit bigger percentage as to my cobalt green, which will be my accent. And being at the wizard stage also means that you let the colors kind of just speak, where sometimes the mixes are done on the paper instead of it being done on the palette. So I wanted to model how we don't need to have perfect leaf shapes for it to look fun also. So you can have fun with new shapes, new marks. And don't be afraid of picking up paint. Paint is meant to be used. Hey, as you guys are working through your pieces, I want you to acknowledge a couple of things that you did today with me, that we painted with a limited palette and we have not done it much before. This is our first time for some, and if it is, then yes, the wobbly feeling is there. So giving yourself permission to focus on being curious and playing is a huge role, plays a huge role. Now, I want to show you how you can do what I like to call glazing. I'm going to take my main color and I'm going to spread it across some of the areas where I want its presence to be more known. And you have to make sure that your painting is already fully dry when you're doing this. So it's fully dry. So then I just go over, and you can see that when I'm doing that, I'm basically just coloring in, and now the surface is wet. And by doing this, you have changed the color value of your color. And you're welcome to go in and add in new colors if you like, because it's wet, right? So it's up to you if you want to do that. My painting is fully dried, so this is fun to do. Where you are glazing a stage 3 scale, where we are glazing to mix on the paper. And by glazing, you can change the temperature of everything because the watercolor is transparent, right? So you are going to basically darken the values, like here, look at this one here. I'm just going to darken her because, she looks so washed out. But at the same time, also inject in a little bit more color. Calling brush down. I want you to take a deep breath. And so, over here, we basically just explored proportion and dominance and how that can change your entire story. And as you can see here, I shifted the colors from session 1, and I just shifted by 1, and you can see that the difference in the spectrum of colors. Okay? And if I wanted to fill the space, I could continue to add a few more, areas where, yeah, it's red, just to make up for, like, okay, making it more, what do you call it? Um, make giving it a bigger role, you know. I could do that. But also keeping in mind that color is more than just color alone. You can see that here in the third one, being in stage 4 and 5, I also focus on values. And this is something that is just completely um, different because then it throws us into water control and not just color. And it's an important property of color, but it requires your knowledge on paint and water ratio, right? And I have a full workshop on that, so I'm not going to do it here right now. And this is the thing, it's just one dimension of color, and I want to then talk about how learning color is really not about, formulas. I didn't tell you what was the percentage of mixes. And you now being a director and having the toolkit of being able to select and choose how muddy you want your colors to be, and basically giving them a taste of each other, building that relationship. This is what we are exploring, and also exploring it at different stages, depending on where you are. So this one here might be the hardest for stage 1 and 2 artists. So if you're in stage 1 and 2 and you're really struggling at this point, like I just want to say that I'm here with you, and I know that this is really, really hard. Um, and I also want you to know that we need to move through the stages before we get to this space, right? And this is why when I designed the art of color, it's like a huge program. It's like 40 over modules. But then one of the things that happens is that people are like, oh my gosh, like, do I have to go through all of it to master color? And my answer is no, you don't have to. And I don't want people to feel like, oh, I can't master it because I've not done all of the color exercises. And therefore, that's why I created this one here, which was our Color Quest Season 1 last year. So last year, beyond just color, what you are, um, what we have not done yet, because, the crazy thing is this, all of this is just proportion, and we haven't even touched things like values and temperature, saturation, mixing your own yellows, oranges and your purples and your greens, and playing with the limited palette, limited three, and playing with cool primaries. And all of this is kind of waiting for us, where I want to work with you over the 10 days just doing property of paint. This was season 1. And you're going to start to see that color is not a formula to memorize, but it's a story, right? And on Monday, I'm opening enrollment for brush movement, where you get to join. And you don't just get season 1 and 2 of Color Quest, but I'm giving you the entire Art of Color program free as part of being a member. So our members get access to all of our workshops for free. And this is because I believe in building your skills. My belief is that when I give you the skills, you get to choose how to direct, because you now are given the toolkit, and then you can make the choice, right? If you know what spices is available and how they all taste, you're going to be a better chef than if you enter the kitchen and you have no idea or what or how the mixes are going to work. So so it's almost like a full color library inside of the art of color. But these here, the 10-day color quest, is to force you to not overthink and to get you into painting. Okay, so season 1 went into properties, and season 2 is the added part about color dominance. So you can see that we did values again, but this time we think about the dominance of value. We did the color with the mixing, but we think about dominance also. And then I wanted to make things a little easier with how we actually think about the way in which we choose our colors. So these were actually closer to one another to make it easier for my stage 1 and 2 artists. And then here we start to think about how we inject in opposite colors on the wheel. And then here is just our cool primaries. So fun. Look, these were both done with cool primaries. And look at the difference in like how you can create with the same primaries, but it's just shifting the proportion. And also thinking about how you use space, because we don't have to fill the space. The stage doesn't have to be filled with props and things like that. And I think the bigger picture is that color is just one domain, because inside of brush movement, which I'm going to be opening on Monday, we cover the whole watercolor journey, you know, composition, color, brushwork, water control. This was my new baby, which we did this year on composition. And this is just color values, just doing value studies, being able to see the difference with adjusting the proportion of tones, light, mid, and dark. and then seeing what kind of composition you can get, right? And these here are just playing with like different types of composition, doing comparisons, because I love to do comparisons like these. So you actually visually get to see and experience it. And then that way, it's so much easier for you to put it into practice. This is about layers, how much layers you want to add, right? And this one here is about shape, having flowers that are all front facing or flowers that face different directions and have different points of view. This one here is in saturation, totally bright and desaturated. And then these ones here are compositions where we broke down with different edges, soft edges, hard edges. So this is just composition alone. But for you to feel like you are able to paint, I know that our artists all come in different stages. And this is really why our classes are all built on stages. So apart from the full workshop, each month I provide classes for different stages. Stage 1, 2, stage 3, 4, and stage 5, all on the same theme. And this one here was floral silhouettes. And just so you know, this was season 2 of floral silhouettes. Season 3 is coming in October. And since we were on the theme of color, this is what our stage 1 and 2 artists are going to do for floral silhouettes. We're going to use color, and we just choose one color and mix it with all the colors in our palette. I want to hear from you guys. Can you guess what color I chose as my main color that has mixed with all the colors on my palette? Curious to know if you guys can see it. You don't have to give me the exact pigment, friends, or exact color. Yeah, I mean, like pretty much, right, friends? Whether it is Queen Rose or you know that it's like kind of like a coolish red, right? But yeah, the answer is magenta. So, so yeah, I use magenta and I mixed it with everything, and you can see how it interacts, like even with the greens. Look at that. Like just do all of the mixes, and then from this, I also exercise a bit of color dominance because each of your flowers in your sphere is also a composition on its own, right? Because like here, the leaves are all in one shade, one value. But what if I change it up here, where I change the value and I change the saturation and I inject in blends and things like that? So it makes it so much more alive and dynamic in comparison to here. Okay? So yeah, so this is coming in October, which I'm really excited for. And I'm not going to scare you to show you stage 3, 4, and 5. Um, but it's also very fun, trust me. We're going to do a Nagalus colors and we're going to paint it and put it into composition because, that's what my stage 3, 4, and 5 artists are craving. They want to know the work on composition. This is another one that I love that I also feel is related to color, which is painting white flowers. One of my favorite. We only did season 1 of this because like it was requested and I was like, oh yeah, my library does not have white flowers. And this one is called Ways of White. And you will be able to see how we painted white flowers across the different stages. And so many different ways of painting, depending on what your stage is. So I always tailor my classes depending on what the stage of the artist is, right? And you can see it's different skills. This is just skills on just knowing how to mix your white, getting a gray. And then this here is using a background with gouache, or if you have white watercolor, because I want to encourage you to break rules and not just feel like, oh my gosh, you're an artist. So an artist is expressive. You get to choose. And you get to play by your own rules. And this one here was with negative painting, also white. So I hope I gave you a little bit of insight as to what is coming, because it is just one domain. Color is just one domain, and everything basically I have created and crafted in my watercolor land in brush movement has been tailored to the stages of, just based on the questions that everyone has asked. So if you are on in brush movement, you get to be, of course, inside of our Discord channel, where because Anne, I see you asking about our Discord channel. So that's where we're hanging out in terms of where we are doing our community and our chats. I love Discord because it's so much more organized than Facebook. I have nothing against Facebook, but I just get really frustrated that I can never find the chats, because it just disappears on me. And it's so much easier to track inside of Discord. So I want to give you a short preview of how it looks like. And, as I mentioned, all of the workshops and the workshops in future are for free for Brush Movement members. And there are more workshops that are going to be coming, and they're all embedded inside of a 60-day skill builder. So this means that I have actually put together for you over 60 days if you have a specific goal. Say you want to do color, right? And here we do composition, the three pillars of floral compositions. And then we have got the skills, which is the art of color. And even if you're in stage one, module one is for stage one. It's designed for stage one, just color awareness. Just understanding terms like what value is and what saturation, how it looks like, because I want to make color practical. I don't want to make it technical for just you, right? And here, color knowledge is for stage two. Stage three, color interaction, where you do the mixing and stuff, all the mixing. And module four is color relationships. And I haven't shown you my circles, but you actually get to see color families, the different families and how they come together. Then it's only at module five you get to composition and planning. But we did color dominance, just one part for our workshop for the last 3 days. And that alone has already shed a lot of light for you, right? And then the last one is color application. How are you going to apply it in your composition? So it's practical and it actually stays, inside of your decision-making toolkit, basically. And this is just color. And as I said, I think one of the things that I missed to share the last time is our class library. And I want to tell you that I strongly believe that you don't need more tutorials. But what I believe is that you need to know how it looks like at your stage, what your stage needs, and what are the tutorials for your stage or for your goal that you have. A lot of us avoid things, and what you're avoiding is basically what's next for you. If you're avoiding painting in limited color palettes, then that's next for you, right? If you're avoiding layering, then that's next, because the thing that we are avoiding is the thing that we actually need. And it's very easy for us to stay in our comfort zone. And then our 10-day color quest is here. And then the Q&A library, because every month we have Q&A sessions as well. And after the Q&A sessions, instead of forcing you to watch the entire Zoom session, I have chopped it up and put it into each of these different categories. So then it's easy for you to go like, okay, I have questions about layering. So then go in there and see if you can find answers to your questions regarding layering, right? And this also makes our Zoom sessions a lot more productive, because that way we get to focus on we don't keep repeating questions that have been covered before. So this library is really my favorite of all. And then we've got our full floral classes since April 2023. And I know lots of Patreon memberships will probably give you project-based work like this. But I feel like this is the same as what you can find on YouTube. But how I've made our space to be different is to give you your pathway based on your stage and based on the skills that you want to explore. And that way you can beef up on whatever that you are looking at. Um, because I feel like so many of us get overwhelmed by the beginner friendly stuff, which, by the way, sometimes I feel like it's gaslighting because some of it is not beginner friendly. Um, uh, to make things easier, I also have your first 10-day plan. So for those of you who join from Monday, and we're only open for 4 days, this allows you to set goals. So day one, what's happening? Day two, get to know your stage. Day four, day five, day six, and day seven and eight. So then that way you kind of have a little map of how to get started. And you don't feel like, oh, there's so much. There's just a lot of stuff. So this is coming. I'm very excited because the doors open on Monday, and I don't usually open enrollment. And basically, Brush Movement is my family, my art family. And I love them so much. They're the best people. And also, they are the people cheering you on inside the Facebook group, our dear cheerleaders, like, the people who have been like reaching out to you and like saying hello and all of that. Those are our community members. I mean, like, seriously, it's like the best people. Like, you're getting to experience it firsthand. So, anyway, Brush Movement is a monthly membership, and you can choose if you want to join for a month and then leave. It's up to you. But I have to tell you, like, you won't be able to learn it in 1 month. But it's still a good sampler. But believe me, you know, skills take time to develop. And I really, really would love for you to see how once you start focusing on your stage, you will you will definitely not compare yourself to others in the same way anymore because you know what you are supposed to do, you know what's in your lane, and the likelihood of you comparing yourself is a lot lower. Because I feel like when I was a beginner, and you're like doing this beginner friendly YouTube roses, and you just feel inadequate because, like, I'm also a beginner, but this person apparently is a beginner, and this person's able to do so much better, and you end up feeling this sense of like inadequacy, and you question yourself, but it was not you, it was that the tutorial was not fit for your stage. And that's why I wish that this space was created when I was learning. But I learned from YouTube, friends. I'm just like market researching, and before I created Brush Movement, I went into Skillshare and I checked it all out also. Uh, and and the space has been crafted by our members. It's basically been by our members. Every time they ask questions, I'm like, let's do a workshop. 10-day color quest was by our members because they asked, and No Formula Florals 2.0 came from a member who said, how paint flowers in different perspectives? Like mine are always front facing. We're like, okay, let's do a 2.0. And then 3.0 were people asking about like, how do you paint from references? So everything keeps changing. And Nicole has shared the link for the ebook for those of you who are looking and waiting for it. So this is a resource for you guys, and the ebook is also based off our main course, which is Flower Fundamentals, which you also get for free inside Brush Movement. And Brush Movement basically holds space. We are we are a container more than just you know like if you're looking for hours of tutorials, you can find it on YouTube. I believe it. You can, but how far you can feel held, or whether or not you feel like someone is able to tell you what's next, that's the difference. And inside Discord, I try and be there as much as I can. I know I've neglected them this week, unfortunately, but I'm trying to still come on every now and then. But the nice thing about the community is that they are cheering each other on and they are also pitching in on different things. And I love it because the OGs, the ones who have been there for a while, have learned the stuff and then they are like, "Oh, this is what I've learned. This was what the last Q&A was about. And this is what," and I think that's the magic. It's not the content anymore, it's the inspiration, it's the camaraderie and in the world of AI where yes you can get anything to paint for you and whatever and you can probably GPT like what is wrong with my painting, and it's gonna probably come out something, but how you're gonna apply it's gonna be a little bit different. So Christine says we forgive you. You're busy. so, so yeah, so thank you so much friends, and like I think if you are looking for more than just like Netflix, which yeah, Netflix, a very organized Netflix, because like I'm very organized. So that's one. And also like it's also the community and the space that we have holding each other. And sometimes you don't even have to participate. You can be a lurker, because I'm a lurker in other communities too. And you will still learn. You will still be able to get something. So the community will open on Monday. I want to give you guys some time to marinate all the stuff that you're learning, absorb it, breathe. And I want you guys to ask questions. Now, any questions right now, if you guys have any questions um, at all, let me know. If you don't have any questions right now, I will still be hanging out in the Facebook group, friends. I'll be there. And it'll be on the Facebook group. I'll tell you when the doors are open also, and I will answer questions. I want you to share. I want you to share your combinations, with the three colors that you have chosen. You can do so much. This is just the beginning because, like, I believe that if I were to make it fully muddy and to use my truest, like the vermilion as my pop of color and accent, it will be a different painting altogether again, right? And it will keep changing and adjusting depending on how you play around with the proportions and things like that. So here is the link again for those of you who are looking for it. Um, but yes, I am very, very excited to have you join Brush Movement. And it's basically it's about like what you want to get from your art. And I totally believe that your art deserves more, so much more. We want to put more art in the world. The world needs more art now. And there's AI. More art, more handmade stuff, back to basics, all of these stuff. So before we end off, I want you to put down a rating of how you felt before day one and how you felt now about color. Um, and yes, and so there are people who are members of Floral Foundation, which is my smaller community. And Floral Foundation is focused for stage 1 and 2 artists. So they don't get all the workshops. They only get flower fundamentals, which is one of my signature workshops. And this workshop is only to allow you to focus on the foundations. Because I think that what a lot of our stage one artists need is just something that they are able to get with the right scaffolding, right? And when I created Floral Foundation, I wanted it to be such that it was accessible because I was just baffled seeing how people were offering the courses to beginners for 300 US dollars. And I'm like, as a beginner, for 300 US dollars, I would buy supplies like cotton paper maybe. But like unless you like super fangirl this person. Like, I don't know, there might be some people who are fans of particular watercolor artists, then yes, go for it. But then that is where I have bought courses too. And one of the biggest gaps I feel in some of the courses, I'm not going to name courses, but is that I still can't apply it. But this then depends on the stage again that you are in. Because I believe that when you're in stage one and two, you need a lot more hand holding in comparison to a stage three, four, and five artist. So then sometimes at stage one and two, we feel like we need to stop copying tutorials, but we're not ready yet because we just learned to walk. So you can't run, And if you think about baby, we all need to start in different stages. You need to learn to sit up before you learn to crawl, before you learn to. And I did a YouTube video about this where when you skip the stages, you will see the gaps later on. Not now, but later. You will feel like, I don't know where this is going. And then you're not sure what the gap is. And that's why I've mapped it out according to the stages with the different pathways and focal points that you need for each stage. So I hope all of this was helpful. Um, I only got one number. Come on, friends, give me some numbers. Like, tell me, like, how has this been, like, from day one all the way to now? Like, give me two numbers, basically, right? Day one, what number was it from 0 to 5? And then day now from 0 to 5, tell me what number it is. Even if it's 1 1, that's fine. Be honest. Don't be kind. Be honest. I also want to take the opportunity to put you guys in gallery view. And I wanna gallery. I wanna see your paintings. I wanna see what you guys did. Share with me. I wanna see the color combos, friends. Oh, look at all the colors. Do you guys see a difference between the different squares, right? Very nice. Oh wow, look at that. I love the colors. And take the first one as your warm up, right? And then the rest to be just like everything else. So nice to see all your faces. And if you have an additional square, you can work on that too. And I am going to be putting up this replay, and our brush movement members will get the second session as well, the first session too, because since we did two different paintings, and I will do a voiceover for that one. So because I did one with a clearer angle and you see it better, so I will do a voiceover for that one. And I see someone has posted their art in the chat. I love it. So if you want to post up your art, feel free to do so. And remember, friends, creativity is a muscle that you can exercise and also start to exercise your own decision-making skills. Yeah. And yeah, that's it, friends. I will see you on Monday when doors officially open. And this is the last time we're opening. I don't want to open anymore, at least not for 2025. No more workshops. I want to love on my members and do more fun stuff with them. Definitely another workshop coming at the end of the year because it looks like From Flat to Fabulous needs a 2.0. So we're going to do that. And then maybe we're going to build out of composition more. So yes, thank you, friends. Look out for the email in your inbox. Sometimes it goes to spam and promotions because like this week has been crazy. Like I've been emailing you every day for something, right? So then the Gmail is like, this is a spammer. So we're gonna put her in spam now. And it's been every day because I'm like, oh look, the replay, oh reminder, 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 reminder. And like, And if you I don't know how many of you guys are like me. I have 11,000 emails unread. And my husband's like, "Do you have to subscribe to everything?" I'm like, "But it was like a discount code on this brand of clothes." Or, you know, or like he's like, "You didn't unsubscribe to you did not unsubscribe to what was that called, Instagram, where someone comments on your stuff, you know how many emails you." I'm like, "Oh yes, I should probably turn that off." They should not make it a default. It's like crazy that they make things like that a default. And Facebook, like now every time you guys comment, it's like in my inbox straight away. But I've turned that off. So I feel so seen that Evelyn says she's got 41K emails in her Yahoo account. I love it. So you see, that's what the community is for, friends, to help you feel seen. Thank you so much, and good night, my friends. I will see you again on Monday when doors officially open, and I can't wait to see all of you guys. Thank you so much. I will definitely see you again soon. I have so many unreads. Yes, exactly. So yes, you are amongst your people. Thank you so much. Bye bye, everybody. Thank you, thank you. Good night and good morning, wherever you are at. Ta-ta, everybody.